Hello, ladies and gents. How are we doing tonight? We have just seen Gloucester defeat Saracens 23-17. That should say, not 23-14. Wow, big L early on for me there. Yeah, we've just seen Gloucester beat Saracens. Massive performance, 23-17. They pulled out the win. Just give me a second while I sort out that graphic. See you in a sec. Okay, we are back. Apologies for that little bug there. Got the correct score at the bottom of the screen now, finally. Gloucester 23, Saracens 17. Really big result for the Cherry and Whites. They get the victory at home against the reigning European champions. And what was, I thought, a really, really good game to watch. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed watching the game. I am going to be going through the game, giving my analysis on it. But first, quick welcome to what we are doing here with this episode and with this episodic series here on YouTube. Yeah, basically what I want to do is a full rugby show. You know, the kind of program you can come in and we'll talk about rugby from all across the weekend that's just happened. So it's usually going to air on a Sunday night. This is just sort of a little test run, half an hour, 45 minutes to see how it goes, see how I find doing it, and getting some practice in before we go live the first time. Big weekend coming up. So to start off with, I am going to talk about the game that's just happened, and then I am going to go on to talk about and preview the weekend's games, the Autumn Internationals, the Premiership, just quickly on each one, because obviously not going to be streaming for any longer than sort of half an hour, 45 minutes. But yeah, a great game, a real game, a little bit for the rugby purist at the start. The first half was very much filled with Saracens in possession, unable to really break their way through what was a really stout Gloucester defence in the first half. I really thought that they defended very well. I thought Billy Twelvetrees actually had his best game that I've seen him have for a while. You know, I've criticised Twelvetrees a lot in my days of punditry on the Wasps Report podcast, because I don't think he's been at his best for Gloucester the last couple of years, but I thought he was really, really good tonight. And the game really didn't catch fire until the second half. Gloucester came out, and Mr. Ackerman, their coach, had obviously given them a right going over in the changing rooms at half time, because when they came out in the second half, they looked like a different team. They were attacking with a bit more confidence, and then they brought on the guy who, in my opinion, changed the game. Ben Velicott, the scrum half. Thought he was excellent. I thought he played really, really well, and some of the steps it takes. He was catching balls that were kicked at him and running back at Saracens, and they had no answer for him. He created so much, and you know, it was only when he was brought on that Gloucester really got back into the game. A game they looked almost out of at 14-9 when Saracens scored their try, and you know, I thought at that point Saracens were going to go away. They were going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and probably end up winning, possibly even with a bonus point. So Gloucester did really, really well, and at home they are a different animal. They are very, very good at home, and I thought they did really well to get back into the game in the way that they did this week. It's an interesting result for the Premiership table as well. It's you know, the table, everything's so close this year. You know, you look at the full table. I've just got it up in front of me here, and you look at someone like Newcastle, who people say have been having a great season, and you look at the table, they're in 7th, but they're only a point behind Leicester in 3rd. And that win for Gloucester bumps them up to 22 points, bumps them up into 3rd place in the table now. Saracens still top, but the loss draws them back down into the pack a little bit. And it's just making for what is going to be a really great season. I think, and that this season that's already been excellent is going to continue on over the next couple of months. So well done to Gloucester for winning tonight. Really cracking game. BT Sport crew on top of their game once again. They really were. I loved that crew. I think it's the best place to watch rugby at the minute on BT Sport. And yeah, I'm glad that Premiership Rugby's there and not on Sky anymore. I've got to say, when it was on Sky, it was painful at times to listen to Stuart Barnes and have him calling the games, especially our games. I mean, just yeah, the less I have to say, the better. On to a little bit of Wasps news. Some good news this week for the club in some new contracts and some players coming back from injury. I'm going to start with the former there. Alex Reader signs up for a new deal, as does Tom Cruise. Two very important squad players in my opinion. Both, especially Reader, has done really, really well this year when he's played, and last year as well. And Cruise has looked good in the times when he's had to play at hooker. Shame he's out injured at the minute, because I think we could really do with him going forward. And yeah, it's good news to hear players signing up. There's rumours that a Joe Launchbury extension is going to be signed, or is going to be announced in the next couple of days. I hope that's true. I think if this club wants to progress and keep being in that top 4 contention, in championship contention every year, then we need players like Joe Launchbury to come in and to stay and be the lifeblood of the club, which he is. And I can't see Joe going. Personally, as good as other clubs are, and as good a places they are to play, I just can't see him going anywhere. I must admit. The other good news is that Kyle Eastman is back after 9 months out, which is huge for the club and for Kyle. It was a really bad injury that he got last season when he snapped his Achilles tendon. And the fact he's back and ready to go from the start is testament to just what a professional player he is. And how well he's rehabbed that injury, going in to what is a big game, actually, and possibly, well, it's going to be tough to top what we've just seen tonight on from King's home on BT Sport. But I think it might be the game of the weekend at the Ricoh Arena tomorrow, 5:15. Wasps against Newcastle Falcons. Both sides love to play positive rugby, and I'm really looking forward to this matchup to see what madness happens between the two teams. Yeah, this is the kind of game that could end 44 or 42 quite easily. You know, I think that Wasps, with the team, are just rounding back into some form. They are really starting to get some players back from injury and really starting to find their way a little bit again on offense in attack. I think when Danny comes back, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, when he's back, he's healthy, he's fit and ready to go, Wasps are going to be a bit better again in attack. They're going to keep improving, I think, as we come into the Christmas period and into the new year. I do think he's a really key player for the team, and I think that once he is back in the starting lineup, I'd say there'll be a better attacking force. But I wouldn't count them out this weekend. You know, if Kyle can come back and keep that electric pace and electric step that he had before his injury, then there's a chance that Wasps tear Newcastle open early on. But it would be really poor of me to underestimate Newcastle. You know, this team has done so well in the last couple of years. They play such an exciting brand of rugby, and they have so many great players in this team that I think I can really see them causing Wasps some trouble. You know, Wasps' backline hasn't been great in recent, in defence in recent weeks and in recent times, really. And I think if any team has got what it needs to take Wasps apart, it's Newcastle. Yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to seeing them come and play at the Rico, and I think they can go and cause an upset. On to the other games in the Premiership this weekend. Starting with tomorrow's other game, which is Worcester against Northampton. Big returns for Worcester in the form of Ryan Mills and Francois Houhard. Houhard is going to be the key to whether Worcester stay up again or not. In my opinion, he's a quality operator and one that they're going to need to be firing on all cylinders if they are to stay up this season. Mills is a good player as well. I like him a lot. I think he can get their backline moving a little bit. If they can get decent enough ball from their pack, then they're dangerous to a Northampton side who looked a little bit out of sorts when I saw them play against Wasps in their last Premiership game. Now, granted, that was a good couple of weeks ago, and Wasps had probably their best performance of the season in that game, so it wasn't totally all Northampton playing poorly, and I think this is the perfect game for them because they should be able to bounce back with an away victory and get their season back on track a little bit, because since they had a decent start to the season, they've lost a couple of games in a row now in this competition, and I think that they are very much, if they were to lose tomorrow, then they're not, crisis is the wrong word, but they really need to start turning it around and quickly if they want to make the top four, especially if Newcastle keep playing the way they are and picking up wins. Gloucester, who picked up a big win tonight, will have leapfrogged Northampton. Wasps are improving, and they're getting better with each passing game. And that if we keep improving and keep winning games, then we can be up there. And suddenly Northampton are struggling not only to get in the top four, but to get in the top six. And that's how competitive the league is this year. With 9 teams, I think, capable of qualifying for European rugby, you're going to need, a bad run of games where you lose 2 or 3 in a row could be the difference between qualifying and not qualifying for Europe, and qualifying and not qualifying for the top 4 even. So I think outside of Exeter and Saracens, who I think will be up there at the end of the season, as probably the 1 and 2 seeds, I think for the rest of the teams, it's very open as to who's going to finish in the top 6 and the top 4. So big games every week. You need to pick up your wins. Sunday now. Triple header on Sunday for you. All 3 o'clock games. Exeter at home to Harlequins. Sandy Park is just such a tough place to go and win a game of rugby. Exeter know Sandy Park so well, and they're just a really, really good team at home. They're especially good at home, and they've got just everything you need to be successful. They've got players who play with ball in hand really well. They are great in defence. Phenomenal. One of the best defensive sides I've seen in recent times. And the way they can keep going for 80 minutes with the ball in play for an obscene amount of time is testament to not only their strength and conditioning coaches, but the way that Rob Baxter coaches them to play. The tactics that they employ are nigh on revolutionary at this level. And you see teams like this, they come along and they change the way the other teams in the league play. Because they do something different, and different enough that it gets people to... People have to change the way they play, because they can't beat teams like Exeter playing the way they do normally. So I think it's going to be a really tough ask for Harlequins to go down there and get the victory this weekend. I struggle to see many teams having the firepower to beat Exeter at Sandy Park. In truth, I struggled to see many teams beating Exeter full stop. They were the team that I picked on the Wasps Report preview show to win the Champions Cup this year. I think now that they've won the Premiership and they've got that belief in their squad, they can go on a run and win more and more games each time that they go out there onto the pitch. Harlequins, though, Marcus Smith, as you'd expect at his age, is having a bit of an up and down season. I think defence coaches have worked him out a little bit. It was certainly the case when he came to the Rico in the Champions Cup game. After seeing him 2 weeks ago, the guys at Wasps had sorted out what he was doing in his game. They'd game planned for him a bit better than they did in the league game. And this Quins side, really, if they don't get under your skin, they struggle. And I think against Exeter, I don't think you're going to get under their skin. In fact, if you try moves like that, if anything, it will just motivate Exeter to play better. There's some guys in this Exeter side that just love playing that kind of game, that dirty, gritty, hard rugby. And I think if they try and do that, then Quins are going to lose, and they're going to lose heavily. I think watch out for Don Armand in this game. I'm still baffled at why he wasn't picked in the England squad. That's not my choice. Eddie has got a fantastic record, and I'm happy to stand by his decisions. He's smarter than me when it comes to the game. But I don't know what more Don Armand can do. And it's the situation, it's the same as the Dan Robson situation, the Christian Wade situation, the Ben Spencer situation. These guys who were top quality English players, half of the Newcastle team are the same. I don't know what more they can do to get into the England squad, but there are limited places in the England squad. So it's really... I expect to see a really massive game from Armand this weekend. And going forward, all while this autumn international period is going on. In another of the Sunday 3 o'clock games, London Irish host Bath. That could be an interesting game. Bath should win that. You look at the two teams on paper. You look at the two squads on paper. Bath should win that game. But they've got a lot of players missing with England. A lot of players away with England. Anthony Watson and Samisa Rokodaguni, both there, both key attacking talents. And it wouldn't surprise me if London Irish made Bath really work hard for their win this weekend. If Bath, I think Bath will win. I do think that they've got more talent than Irish, but I do think Irish can cause a surprise, and they can definitely, in my opinion, they're definitely the favourites to stay up ahead of Worcester, but they're going to need to start picking up wins during this period, and this isn't a bad place to start with the players that Bath have got away. They need to, as I say, they need to start picking up points, because if they can create a gap between them and Worcester by the time the Six Nations period comes around, then you just want to make if you are Bath, you just want to get ahead of Worcester by 10 or so points, and then it's done by that point. Once a team in 11th gets 10 points or even 12 points ahead of the team in 12th, then the relegation fight's over. So for Irish, this is a real chance for them to win, and for Bath, they really need to pick up points here, because I think a fair few teams, especially teams in that top form fight, will go to Irish and they'll pick up maximum points. And so if Bath miss out on that this weekend, they're missing out on a game that's winnable for their rivals in the top 4 race. Whether they can get into the top 4, I'm not sure. I think at this time of year it's quite tough to tell. They've got the talent there and they've played well enough in patches, but I just don't know if they can get up into the top 4. Final game is the Sale Sharks travelling down to Welford Road to face the Leicester Tigers. Leicester on a decent run of form at the minute. Johnny May is with England, so that's a big miss for them. He was the Premiership Player of the Month for October, and rightly so. He's in sparkling form, and I don't think Sale are going to have enough to beat Leicester, but Leicester have been prone to losing games at home, like shock losses at home in recent times. But with 5 wins on the bounce, I think, I just can't see past Leicester winning this game at Welford Road. Tamura looks like to be the signing he was promised to be last year before he got injured, and I think that I really think that this is Leicester's game. If we're talking about Sale, I would be bereft if I didn't mention Mr. Diamond. I'm not a Steve Diamond fan. Okay, I don't care if people that know him think he's a good guy in the game, if the people that have met him before say he's a great guy and he's a great coach. Because one, I don't think he's as good a coach. I think Sale have possibly got the worst coach in the league in Diamond, and I think that's costing them games because they've got a lot of talent in that squad, and I think that they should be doing better than they are. And I just can't get over someone who criticised the referee in the way he did with the position he holds. So if you hold that position, if you're a coach and you're involved in the game like that, you can't come out and speak in the media like he did against the referee. It's just not how our game works. And seeing part of his punishment suspended because this is something he's done before confuses me a fair bit, because I just think that he's done this before. Part of he's got a game tacked onto this ban because it was suspended from his last disciplinary hearing. So surely he can't have games suspended again. But anyway, if Premiership appeals panels worked how I'd wanted them to, then the rugby world would be very different, shall we say? I think that's all I'm going to say on the Premiership. I think the best game of the weekend is probably at Twickenham. I'm really excited though. The one I'm going to start with is to see how Georgia go against Wales tomorrow. It's on BBC at 2:30, I believe. I would say I'm really excited, and I'm really glad that Wales are playing Georgia, and because Georgia need games like this. They need games against top nations regularly so that they can improve as a team. Because if you've ever seen pictures on Twitter of when Georgia host games, there is a real love for rugby in that country. They have a massive stadium that they play in Tbilisi that's filled to the brim every game. Rugby is the sport in Georgia, and they deserve the chance to show that off on the top stage. And with the side that Wales have picked and the way Georgia play and the passion that they play with, I just wonder, I think they could get the win against Wales this weekend. Wales are a strange one. I think that they could be so much better than they are. And I think that about a lot of sides, and I know it's something Ben Ryan says, is that a lot of sides could be better than they are, but the coaches don't let players play instinctively. If someone like Liam Williams has been deployed on the wing an awful lot for Wales, and I think his best position's at fullback. Where he's in the middle of the field, he catches the ball, he can run at defences and really make a difference on the game. Whereas on the wing, a lot of the time, especially in the Wales team, he gets isolated. And I think that they need to utilise someone of his talents a little bit better going forward, if they're going to have any kind of success. It wouldn't surprise me if Georgia beat Wales this weekend. It could be a cracking game. It could be a dire game. I suppose I'm covering all bases there, really. The next big international fixture this weekend is Murrayfield, where Scotland take on New Zealand. And it's fair to say from the Kiwis team selection that they are not taking Scotland lightly. A lot of their rotated squad played on Tuesday night against France, in which was a great atmosphere, I must admit. And I think that this weekend, Scotland, I can't see Scotland winning. I don't think they've got quite enough firepower to beat the Kiwis, but can they scare New Zealand at Murrayfield? I think so. I'd like to see Scotland really play fast and loose in this game. They might lose by 20 points if they do that, but I'd like to see a good performance from them in this game. The kind of performance that says to the Six Nations, the other nations in the Six Nations, watch out for us this winter, because we can come at you, we can play fast and loose, and we can mix it with the best in the world for 60 minutes or 70 minutes. And if they can play like that, if they can get out there and throw the ball around and score some tries, then they could cause an upset. I can't see it though. As much as I'd love it, I would absolutely love to see Scotland beat New Zealand. Because having been there and seen the Kiwis play live against the Lions in June, I wouldn't say they're overhyped, because they're incredible to watch. These athletes, these rugby players are incredible to watch. But I do think that Scotland's players, the gap between the northern and southern hemispheres isn't as great as we think. It isn't as great as the media makes out. And I think that Scotland could definitely cause New Zealand some problems this weekend. For New Zealand, it's a game that they should and need to win handily. For them, they're in full World Cup preparation mode, the same as England, same as Australia. And they've got what is a relatively settled side, and they are really ploughing full steam ahead to get those combinations fully synced, ready for the World Cup in 2019. This will be good for these guys and the guys that haven't come across up north before to tour. I think that they need to get that experience playing a hostile environment like Murrayfield. It will do them good when they come to Twickenham next year. And I just say they're going to win this game, I think. It'd be amazing if Scotland beat them, and I'd love it. I love seeing underdogs win. And I'd love to see it on this occasion. But finally, we go on to what is probably the game of the weekend. That being Australia visiting Twickenham to face England. Now, I think the Australians are probably the form team in world rugby. At least that's what they were labelled by Eddie Jones this week. And I don't think he's all that wrong. Yes, New Zealand are playing very well, but Australia's win over New Zealand last month, and then a good performance against Wales, where they really, the scoreline flattered Wales a little bit in that game, and I think that Australia are going to cause England some problems. Curtly Beale, who was fabulous for us in the period that he was at the Ricoh Arena, will cause England trouble. He's dynamite with ball in hand, and having him and Foley in the same team makes things really tough for England's defence. England, though, are bolstered by the return of Owen Farrell into the starting 15. I like his pick at 12. I don't think you want to change things too much. You want to go with the experience of Farrell and Ford as a combination in this game. I like Henry Slade. I think he's a good player. I don't. The issue I see for Slade is I don't think he could play at 13 at international level outside Ford and Farrell. I think you need an more athletic player like a Joseph rather than another really subtle creator like Slade. I think you'd have too many creators in there. What England really lack is a player who plays like Ian Whitten does at Chiefs that's international quality. They had an inside centre like that. I think having Slade at 13 and Farrell at 10 would work really, really well as a partnership. Also, probably quite predictably, I'd like to see Elliot Daly given a run at 13 in an England jersey. I think, although he played really well on the wing for England and the Lions, I do think 13 is his best position. I think he can make an impact on the game at international level in that position, and I would really like to see him given a shot. But I don't think Joseph has lost that jersey yet, and I think he needs a couple of good performances to finish the autumn. But I do think he's at the minute England's incumbent in that position, and he hasn't done enough to warrant losing his spot, I don't think. In the forwards, I like the pairing of Launchbury and Laws in the second row with Itoje on the bench. And here's why, and this explanation, it will probably come back to bite me, I think. But for me, Itoje is the opportunity to be one of the best players in the world. Launchbury and Laws are very, very good players. You know, they're in the top 10, I'd say, the two of them, in second rows worldwide. But I don't know if either of them has got much more of a ceiling above where they are now. They're playing already quite close to their peak in terms of careers and skill levels. Whereas I think Itoje's still got some improvement to do. And it's improvement that he should have done towards the back end of last season and into the beginning of this season. And he hasn't quite kicked on yet. So I wonder if this is Eddie's way of saying to Marrow, look, time to cut out the silly penalties that you sometimes give away. Time to learn when to play right on the edge and when to play over the edge of the disciplinary line. Time to start working again. Time to start. You haven't got it made. You haven't made it yet. You could still get better. And Eddie is a funny character. He does things like this. He will sit players like Itoje on the bench to make a point to them that you can be better, so go out there and make yourself better before you come back into my team. And Itoje coming on at 60 minutes, no one would want to see that when you're tiring and you know you've got to go up against him for the last 20 minutes on a full tank of gas. Yeah, no thank you. This is a tough game to call. I think Australia have got what they need to go out and get the win at Twickenham this weekend for the first time in a while. I think that they are as good as England, and I think this is Australia starting their upward curve to World Cup time that they always seem to be on. They always seem to come good in time for the World Cup, and I think the talent that they have in their squad, from Beale to Folau to Foley, I think they could really cause England some issues. But I think just England have just got that little bit more talent throughout the team. You know, England's back three is pacey and it's attacking, and I think England have got to prove a point after last week's performance. I don't think it was very good. I doubt they thought they played very well, and I think Eddie spoke in the run up to these autumn internationals about showing who they are in attack, and England need to come out and do that. And I think that if they can, they will, and I think Australia is probably the perfect team to come up against to do it. Anyway, I think that is just about all we have time for this week in this pilot. If you watched this, if you came and you enjoyed it, and maybe you caught it live, or maybe you caught it on demand afterwards, it's going to go up on the YouTube channel and it'll be up there hopefully forever and ever. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. If you liked it, maybe give us a share on Twitter or Facebook. Leave us a like. Okay, Wasps Rugby News in the chat. With a nice live rumour. I reckon that's from the Digger in the Telegraph, to say that Brad Shields could be on his way to Wasps. I haven't heard anything about that until just now, till it was just posted in the chat. So what I will do is do some research on that, and when we come to you for the Wasps Report podcast on Monday, we will chat about Brad Shields and hopefully his signing for Wasps from the start of next season. He's a quality player. If you don't already, please subscribe to our podcast, The Wasps Report, on YouTube. New episodes drop every Monday on iTunes, Acast, and newly from next week on here on YouTube. Also, if you go to my page, my website every Thursday, the Handoff blog that goes with this YouTube show, that comes out every that will start coming out, from next Thursday, every Thursday. That will be talking all of rugby, my thoughts on stuff from across the rugby spectrum, from women's rugby to Premiership to Super Rugby when it comes back, to internationals, all over the map. So yes, if you could give that a read every so often, let me know how what you think. And finally, make sure you follow us on Twitter at the Wasps Report, and follow me. I am Alex Chinery, nice and easy to remember. All the links and everything are down in the description below this video. Final thoughts just before I sign off. Well done to the England ladies. They had a big win over Canada tonight at Allianz Park. That team is the model of what you would like your rugby team to be. I think they play such good fast flowing rugby, and if they're ever in your area for a game, really check it out. Go along and watch. They are excellent players. They play with such good core skills. A lot of the time better than the guys do in terms of core skills. It's really fast, free flowing attacking rugby. So really good to watch. Anyway, that is about that for me. I will leave you here now. Thank you very much for those that tuned in live. Thank you very much for watching. If you are watching on demand, I will see you maybe Sunday, maybe the week after. I'm not sure yet, but probably Sunday. Cheers. Bye-bye.